Hello again, and thank you for helping us to move forward in this competition. Before we get started, let me recap a bit what we talked in the first speech. So we want to bring a new insurance, an insurance by customers for customers, with no intermediaries, which allow us to drastically reduce the cost for the end user. An insurance where inside a community, you can decide on the rule for which you want to vote on. Let me make that a bit less abstract. Think about a community of users that wants to insure phone, which value ranges between $500 and $800. Anyone has an iPhone 10 in the room? Yes? That's too bad. You're not going to be able to be part of that team. Well, then rules. What do I mean by rules? Think about water damage. This is something that you may not want to cover inside your team, so you guys can vote and say, OK, we will not cover water damages. This is the main differentiating aspects of our community, is that you can customize it to your needs. But then you may wonder, what are the challenges to creating such a community? So I'm sure that all of you had the opportunity to share a common pot of money, for example, with friends during a travel. Well, that's easy to create trust with your friends. How do you do that with a large community of people that you may or may not know? So we need to make sure that no one is going to have an opportunistic behavior. No one can steal money from the common pot. But also we want to make sure that no one goes against the consensus, that once we voted a claim to be reimbursed, no one's going to say, no, I withhold the fund because I don't agree with the result of the vote. Finally, you want to make sure that everyone follows the same rules, that everyone votes based on the same rules. So we spent all this month working in order to find a solution that would not use a third trusted parties, because that would be the standard way to solve this problem, but that would also mean that we're just like any standard entrance. So in 4 months, we designed how the community will be managed, and we used a tool that's very common among blockchain enthusiasts, and this is Ethereum smart contracts. The contract is a piece of code that will manage all the administrative tasks of the community. It will compute the entry price such that the community lasts for 1 year. It will compute all the statistics to help people vote on given claim. It will reimburse the claimant when the vote is positive. All of this without the need for an intermediary. The contract isn't biased by its own interests. It just reacts to community decisions. And again, no more intermediaries, less cost. All of this happened in a transparent way. You can go and look at the code of the contract along with a human-readable English description of how it reacts to events.
So I wouldn't really be surprised if right now you tell me the system looks a bit abstract to you, right? So I would like to go through a really simple example and see how it works practically. Every year, new users arrive, and the contract is going to compute how much money each of these users have to pay to get insured and get into the community. So they all will pay this amount of money, and now the contract is the only actor in the system to hold the funds. Suppose now that Jane, yesterday, got her phone stolen in the subway, so she will collect data, proofs, documents, along with a really precise description of what happened, and send this to the contract. The contract now will pick a random sample of users. These are responsible to vote for the claim. So they should decide in a limited amount of time whether or not they have to accept the claim. Suppose now that, for our example, the claim is accepted, the procedure is over. Jane is going to get her money back. Now I would like to talk a bit about rules. And this is an important topic in our case because one cannot expect to follow the same rules for a phone or for a bicycle, right? It doesn't make sense for a bike to get water damage. So this is why we introduce the concept of teams. A team is basically a sub-community which has to decide on a common set of rules that they have to follow when new claims come. So such that each user play by the same rules. This is what makes the system really customizable to users' needs, to users' beliefs. And this is what allows them to just insure any good. But they have to remember an important point, because when there is no money, there is no more insurance. So they have to vote in a smart way, such that they are insured as long as possible, but at the same time, they cannot just bash each other and say no all the time, because this is going to be reflected on the statistics, and it's going to be impossible for them to get money back when they need to. But there is even more. The community, the system, it's just like good wine. It gets better as it ages. The community, the system learns from different statistics in order to always propose the best offer as possible. which means that any user is guaranteed to always pay the best price, no more, no less. And the system is scalable. The more users, the less risk. The more users, the less each user has to vote for a given claim. So this peer-to-peer insurance scheme, which needs interaction from users, will more and more look like a standard insurance where interaction is actually not required.
So because the system is going to behave like a standard insurance, we thought that the most appropriate way to charge user was to charge a fee on their entry price. That would allow us to have continuous cash flows, but also growing revenues as the community gets larger and larger. We decided in the first phase to launch a preliminary version where we would not charge any fee to users. Therefore, all the fund that they put in the contract is used for claim reimbursement. Then, you may have guessed that our system cannot be used to insure any good. Think about car crashes or health insurance with cancer. Those are life or death situations, and you cannot expect a singular user to vote on such claim. That's why we think that we can use real insurance experts. And to leverage this complementarity, we decided in the second phase to offer a partnership with an insurance. That would allow them to leverage this new radical innovation to differentiate from their competitors, but also to attract all the users we attracted as the first phase. Then you may still wonder, why should you trust two 23-year-old master's students? Well, remember that today we're trying to give you a very high-level explanation of what we did. But all of this was done under the supervision of Arjen Lenstra, a very famous cryptologist at EPFL. This is him, and he's very popular for a very funny reason. He bought 220 PlayStation 3 in order to crack even the more complex cryptographic algorithm. When he was done with that, he didn't throw them away or just sold them. He gave them away for free to students, and that indeed made him very popular. You'll see the QR code of our GitHub repo here, and you can go, and we really encourage you to do it, to see the white paper, all the web app that we did, the prototype, and along with all the presentation that we realized. So we spent a long time developing something into which we deeply believe. It is now your turn to make a difference. It is now time to go and build a company that would help us bring this product to market. It is now time to build a larger team to accompany us toward this long journey. Now we need to talk with insurance experts. We need to study users to fit the product to the market. All of this to bring you a new insurance, fast, reliable, connected, fitted to your needs, but most importantly, at the exact right cost it should be. No more, no less. We would like to thank you very much for your attention, and we hope that we've given you a taste for a future where technology can help us build trust among people. We know that 10 minutes is not enough, and we hope you have questions for us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Nice. Well done. Thank you. Stay right here. Who wants to go first? All right, let's go with you, Martin.
How will you build up this community? How would you approach them?
How would we approach them? Well, first of all, the idea is to, I think, target people that are really tech enthusiasts, because the first people that are going to work with us are just people that understand the blockchain and how it works. So I think we should go mostly into all the forum that are based on cryptocurrency and people that are into it, to propose them this new system, because it's really about, we talked about it, being part of a greater community, to be the actor of tomorrow. So I think that this is how we would try to approach them.
Stefan?
If you let the insurance company handle the claims, then I don't see the value of your partnership. What's your offer then?
So what I was saying is not that the insurance company would handle the claim, it's just that there is not all goods that we can insure. We're just saying that in a second time, we would propose to the insurance company to pay the fee for its customers, but to still provide the service without being a central referee. They would just provide it to differentiate and pay the fee because they can attract all those users, but at the same time, this is a niche market that's not attractive for them, because those goods that have no real value for them to insure.
Vasily?
Yeah, so let's imagine you guys are really, really successful, right? And you have, I don't know, millions of users are using your system. So then how do you deal with what you store on-chain, what do you store off-chain, right? The cost, the scalability, all these aspects. Please cover that.
So this is one of the main technical difficulty that we're still handling. Nevertheless, because the community is growing larger and larger, the probability that you will actually call the contract and you're going to be the one to actually have the cost on you is very small. So we're now trying to spread that among people so that he can get reimbursed by other user when he actually makes this call that provokes such fees. But it's still something that we're working on and we're aware of it.
Last question, Matthias?
First of all, I want to know where you learned to pitch like that. I want to go there. Secondly, I heard the word community like a dozen times, right? And when it comes to building a community and to have an active community, that's one of the hardest things, to achieve. So when you talk about these mechanisms that you have in place, is this pure theory? Is that something that you have, on a concept level, or did you actually, try it out? Did you have tests?
Sorry. So yeah, indeed, I told you we wrote this white paper of 45 pages, which was a lot of mess and a lot of complications. But indeed, we do have a smart contract along with a web application. We did not choose to demonstrate here today because we decided to focus on car deductibles for this application and then wanted to broaden that to any single good. But yes, we do have the community that works. We have yet to test it with beta tester and to try to adapt it better. And that's why here we ask you for your help, because now it's time to invest some money into it. And we're just 2 students, as you said, and we eat pasta every day. So funding such kind of application is still very complicated.
Thank you.
Excellent stuff. All right, have a seat.